So welcome, Stuart. We're joined by Stuart Haire. He is the group CEO of Skipton Group of Companies, which is a really interesting, diverse mix, and I think he'll tell us a little bit about it as we dive into our conversation. Just to give you a sense of Skipton, it's over 1 million members, 1,200 branches. I think pretty much we'll recognise it far and wide. They do mortgages, savings, and lots of amazing services for members. Now, I came across Stuart when I was working with Connell's Group, and by reputation to me, he's a modernizer. He's all about actively influencing for the modern times. You're really passionate about housing policy and, really importantly, accessing financial support. I've listened to you on another podcast about leadership and inclusion, but also passionate about financial inclusion too. So to me, there's a real golden thread through what you care about, Stuart. So that was my short intro. Hopefully I've done you justice. Tell us a little bit about yourself, Stuart.
Sure. There's the bit that's obvious. I'm old. I'm one of the lucky ones. I grew up in a pretty stable family. We didn't have a lot. Grew up in sort of a relatively moderate background, but I was the one that got to go to uni. My two sisters didn't have the financial capability to do that, so I was the youngest by far. Got to go to uni, ended up working at the European Space Agency of all places, so quite academic, but found it really dull. So ended up in the world of commerce and long story short, ended up working in some of the bigger or more recognisable names in FS, such as HSBC and NatWest Group, culminating in running HSBC in the UK. And then took the opportunity to come and run Skipton Group. For all the reasons you said, we have a fascinating stable of businesses run by great people, but really our home territories are both helping serve people financial services and helping them buy, sell, let houses.
Yeah. And what I really love about the group, if you don't mind me saying as an observer, that it's all about you're inside people's lives and you make such a significant difference doing that well. So, what passion drives you all collectively, do you think?
Well, I think it all comes from, there's so much written about and marginally cliched about purposeful leadership. Let me cut through the BS on that. People want to get up and do something where they feel that they get well. There's hygiene factors. You've got to get paid well. You've got to be treated right.
Yeah.
You've got to feel that you can grow. All of those things that have to be a given, not always a given, because some organisations, some cultures don't support that. But you have to have that. That's the hygiene. And then something beyond that is, do you know what? The effort I put in on my 40 hours a week or however long people work actually makes a difference more broadly for society. And I feel good about it. And I think that's not always a luxury that every business can do, but we are in the fortunate position that what we do does impact people positively. And the areas we can impact most positively are, number one, we can help people into homes. Now, some people say that's all about first-time buyers, or it sort of is and it sort of isn't. We focus on helping people that others probably aren't helping. Because thin markets, some people call it in commercial speak, where people are struggling. But that the real life example of that is where they're stuck at home, stuck in expensive rents, and we want to help them in an affordable way get into properties that they can own and they can put pictures up and, it can feel like they can expand their life, or indeed help them move if that's the right thing for them as well, because effectively, they've got a job or loved other that they can go to. So that's one aspect, is helping people into homes. And the other aspect is perhaps as your financial status and bluntly your age moves on, your complexity changes as well. You start to have kids, if you're lucky. You start to have debts if you're unlucky. So your whole situation changes, and actually being prepared for that and for life ahead. And unfortunately, helping your family prepare for when you're not going to be around. All of those things are very human. You can't avoid them, and we can help.
Yeah. I love the fact that you use the word human as well, because actually, financial services and even a state agency, you can think in terms of moving money and houses and things. And actually what you're saying, it's homes, it's living, it's it's being human, and it's being able to spend time with the people that you care about. So that really resonates for me here.
Language matters. It's very
Yeah,
easy, it's very tempting because you spend most of your life talking in FS. So you talk about transactions, you talk about balance sheets, you talk
yeah,
about Sonia rate curves, and it means nothing to most people, and even some people that say it, they don't actually know what they mean.
yeah,
It's not a language which engenders passion.
no,
It's a technical language. It's got its reason to exist, but it's as almost a translation layer for the why of what we do. And what we do, the why of what we do, is so that people can move into things which are not immediately affordable. E.g., they can't
yes,
just buy cash outright, but they can be supported. It's to help them with social mobility. It's to help make sure that when people are at later stages of life, they're well prepared for that, and the costs and the expenses, and they're also setting their successors up. All this stuff is what humanity wants. All the stuff
yes.
like transactions and purchases and LIBOR and curves, they're the
People,
sort of
yeah,
background conversations that you need to make it
yeah.
happen.
You're absolutely right. And actually, the things that you're describing bring that feeling of well-being, whether it's financial well-being or, family well-being, that experience, I think. And if you don't have those things, you really do feel like you can't fulfill your day to day. So, well-being goes hand in hand with that. I think if you've got those things in order and you're being helped with it, you can actually relax and take some of the stress out. And I think that's
Well,
really important.
it's a double-edged sword, and this is where the responsibility of the job comes in, because you're right, if we do
Yeah,
it well, it enhances well-being. If we do it
yeah,
wrong, and we have many instances where we have done it wrong, then we can destroy well-being, and we can make people vulnerable. So if we give debt where people will be, in a certain set of circumstances, it will be
yeah,
unaffordable to them, that can cause mental health issues. There's a whole slippery slope if you do financial services wrong, or you do it with the wrong motives. And be that secured credit, debt, lending, mortgages, or unsecured, or be it
yeah,
overdraft fees, or be it missold products. There's a whole series of things that if you do it wrong, it might in the short term make your business go up a bit, but actually it's not sustainable in the long term, because these things will always come around. Either the debt will be unpayable, and therefore it doesn't matter what interest you're
yes,
charging on it, or the reputation is destroyed and people won't come to you, or your people don't. Importantly, your people no longer feel that sense of the desire to give discretionary effort, and effectively you move into a managed decline. So it is being purposeful and doing it well is as important socially as it is commercially,
yes,
which is why it can sit comfortably in the world of corporate.
yeah, yeah, and almost that north star of doing it right and doing it well, but in a balanced way is I can tell it's really important to you. So should we think about leadership, because that's one of the conversations I'm keen to have with you. How do you bind it together as a leadership team and really um, um, help people share that common purpose and bring it to life?
Not an easy thing to decode, and in truth, you
No.
learn by getting it wrong.
Okay.
And I've
Okay.
had a good 30 years of getting it wrong. So what do I mean by that? You will often have worked with people who help you be the true version of yourself, and there'll be aspects of what
Yeah.
they do that really resonate. You will often find yourself equally in situations where you've worked for people that you feel constrained, you're nervous to approach, you can't be your full self, you feel awkward in some of the things that they say or they do. You recognize this as you go through. You're human, so you sort of react to it. And I'm thoughtful about that. And so I'm also then
Yeah.
thoughtful about the environment that I want to create. And I'm also thoughtful about the people whom I've worked for. Now, let me give it, I'm going to go off a little bit on a tangent. One of the things that's interesting and tempting is you work with people who look, speak, and operate a lot like you, because you know what you think they will want because you've wanted it. So if you follow my first train of thought too far, then everyone will look like Stuart, think like Stuart, etc. That's not where the fun is. It's also not where success is.
Yeah. So what leadership behaviours do you see as essential then in your team? Thinking about how you sort of create that recipe for all the things you've just described.
I think there's lots, and for different people it can be different things, but let's try to narrow it a little bit. So this is a mechanic rather than a behaviour.
Okay.
Leaders have to create followership. So they tend to have to be quite good communicators. And what they communicate really, really, really matters, particularly now on this time of always on. And so therefore, if they're good at communicating on a stage, but secretly they're a bit of a idiot, you can't hide from that anymore. You literally can't, because Trustpilot, Glassdoor, even your own tweets, what people's view about you, what they share in their private chats, all of that stuff will come to the fore. So it's impossible to be someone you're not. So authenticity then comes in. So first of all, to create followership, you need authenticity, you need strong communications, always on, and you need to create followership. You need to create a cause which everyone can buy into, and then a direction which they can feel that they can play their part in. So that's one bit, the ability to create followership. And listen, loads of people have it. Some people you might find uncomfortable create followership. We've got a president in the US who creates incredible followership.
Incredible.
So that can't be the only characteristic.
No, that's a really good takeout, actually.
Then the second bit is, and that can't be populism, because being populist doesn't get stuff done. So the second bit is actually their ability to cut through, not talk about effort and workloads, actually talk about outcomes. So I'm a very outcome-oriented person. If someone achieves the outcomes which they thought would take 2 weeks in 2 days, have the rest of the week off. You have to judge on an outcome. Tends to be either the impact you have on the end customer, those serving the end customer, or your colleagues. That's where outcomes live. They don't live on governance papers or PowerPoint slides. So they can often be tools, but ultimately the outcome is judged. How many for us, it's quite simple. How many first-time buyers did we help? How many good quality advice conversations did we have? How many transactions in the housing market did we successfully complete to the satisfaction of both the buyer and the seller? How many people have we helped let their house out? How many? So there's always stuff you can view, but they tend to be outcomes. So create followership through strong delivery and clarity of message, and be judged on outcomes. They tend to be quite important attributes. And behaviours, I get nervous when people want to calibrate behaviours, because people use words. We have a set of 4 behaviours. I like them, but they'll mean something different to other people. I like people that take accountability. I like them to be brave. I like them to be curious, and I like them to be collaborative. But for one person, collaborative means one thing for one person. I think it's really just the sense of the person, which becomes important.
Yeah, really interesting there, because you're actually talking about the mechanics, as you say, but recognizing that we are all different and we will bring it out in our own different ways. I guess that leads you to the flip side, though, which is, where do you think there shouldn't be room for certain behaviours? Is there anything that you would say, actually, this does not belong in what we're trying to do?
If it totally, and there are too many of them. If a society tolerates anything and everything, then it's anarchic. Ultimately, though, you want to try to encourage the best behaviours, but when the wrong behaviours show up, the skill is to deal with it reasonably. First of all, there is an awful lot of people that will say they're badly behaved, but there quite often can be device in it. So you need to look for evidence-based bad behaviours which disable an organisation or don't allow people to be the best versions of themselves. Both of those are the same thing. And where that happens, and it isn't coachable because it's inherent, then I don't think you can work with those people. And so you have to find graceful ways for them to no longer be part of the movement, the corporate, the company that you're part of. So if someone is just misaligned to the sets of norms that an open culture can have, then there probably isn't a place for them. But it can't just be through office politics that someone's liked, someone's disliked, or, someone's, you can't just be because they're not in your clique that you start to weaponize, grievance, or, you've got to be, as a leader, you've got to be better than that. You've got to not side with one person versus another. You've got to look for the evidence base, but you do have to act where you see behaviours that are misaligned.
I think you use some really interesting qualitative measures there. You talked about disabling.
Do you know in Britain, when people say interesting, they often mean crap. But anyway, it's like, that was interesting.
No, well, actually, I don't mean that. I'm curious because
good behaviour, curiosity.
Yeah, well, for a start, it's a great antidote to bias, isn't it? And that sort of preconceived notions about
and learning
about people.
What's the most curious thing in our species currently? AI. It's hugely curious. It just gobbles up information and perspectives. It doesn't free it of bias, by the way, but it does gobble it up. And so curiosity, if we're to survive the march of the machines, we better dial up our curiosity a hell of a lot, and our humanity.
Well, I'm going to ask you about AI in a minute, but I just wanted to really capture the point you said. So it's almost like the boundaries of disabling an organisation and getting in the way of people being themselves and undermining both of those things. And I think that's a really important point, because just disagreeing with someone or having a different point of view doesn't mean that they have bad intent. You've got to get under the surface of that, and I totally support that.
There's an interesting psychology that prevails just now, and I'm thoughtful about it, I'm curious about it, and it's victimhood, and where people represent as being disabled in a sort of permanently disabled state. I think great leadership, and I don't have that, but let's assume great leaders that I have worked for.
But you're searching for it by the sound of it.
I'm hunting for it.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm owning my own inability to find it at this point, but I will do it. But I think great leadership is where you can enable those who previously felt they were disabled. Because if you just think about that logically, if you've got an organisation, and we've, as you said in terms of the metrics before, we've got an organisation of just shy of 18,000 people. There is no way that all 18,000 are fully enabled. You could do crap studies, but let's say 20% feel inherently disabled. Some are more enabled than others, but say 20% are just sitting there and they're like, either there's a Chinese saying of lying flat, or actively acting as a sort of corporate, and I use the term advisedly, a corporate terrorist, deliberately trying to. The ability to create more discretionary effort in everyone, to create more enablement in everyone. Just think of the delta an organisation would feel from that, compared to spending millions on IT projects, etc. Just enabling the inane asset, which is the people. That's got to be just logic.
Yeah. I mean, that's part of the passion that drives us at Inclusion Live, actually. So how do we recognise the small steps that create those real changes for people? That we use words like psychological safety, and it might not be the word that you might use, but essentially it's about people feeling that they can make a difference, that what they say matters, and they can offer things up without a fear of a reaction. And I think that encompasses so many things that you're talking about, that sense of enabling those that feel like they have to use the term lying flat, which I've never heard before, but I really like it, because it's just about lifting people enough that they feel like they can do something.
This all links back to what you were saying about your innate trait to be curious. It comes from curiosity. So I am very fortunate. Everyone has some neurodiversity, but I don't have any acute neurodiversity. So to understand that for some people in meetings, they have to put on effectively a cloak to not be their full version. When you learn that and you learn why, you can adapt the way that you interact in meetings. And then you get more out of them, and you've learned something. I can't really see the downside in that.
There isn't. I agree.
And so I use that as a form of and they call it masking or whatever else, but I use it as a example. But anything that means that I go back to the intro, I have
Yeah.
privilege. My privilege, yes, comes from lots of different aspects, but the basic privilege I had was I had a mum and dad who supported me to be at the very early baby Stuart, who helped me thrive.
Yeah.
And that privilege and all the different attributes that went with it isn't afforded to a lot of people. So as they go through life, the more that you can open up that opportunity to be the best version of self, the more you
Yes.
will help both the corporate, the individual, and arguably society. Because a more fulfilled individual with a more sustainable career with growth is going to go back and be a better partner, parent, friend to others. I'm getting a little
Yeah.
bit worthy now, and quite often you go onto LinkedIn now and it's full of people being hideously worthy. So I will stop before
Well,
I
no, but
accidentally
I'm really
vomit into
enjoying
my
it because
headphones.
I am really enjoying it, and because it resonates. But it is that sense of giving people the opportunity to, and they talk about being the best version of the self, and it sounds a little bit soft, doesn't it? But it isn't soft, because actually, what you want to do is draw out that magic, because everybody has something, and if we can do that, I'm with you 100%. Can we just dip back into AI? I had an AI question for you, actually. I mean, it's underestimating saying that AI is upon us now. I think we're immersed everywhere, but actually, organizations, leaders, teams are still sort of trying to work it all out. And, we'll stumble through it and look back and think, why didn't we realize this at the start? Probably in a few years' time. And so I guess my question would be, what are you asking your leaders to do through the use of AI? What do you think you should hold firm to, perhaps in the way they work with it, ethically, inclusively? Is there any sort of thoughts, that you would bring to the conversation?
The first thing is learn about it. So curiosity. So for some people, I'm going to do this because it's so tempting. This is my dog having a pint of
Okay,
beer. Okay, so that's an AI
right. Can
generated, and
see,
we do
yeah,
not encourage Coco to drink beer, but that is
no,
Coco having a pint of beer. So for some people, AI is a parlor game. They use ChatGPT to do
yeah,
pictures or whatever else. Fine. For some people, AI is all about efficiency and removal of jobs. For some people, so there's a lot of anecdotes that
there
translate
is.
around AI. Be curious and be a practitioner. They're the first two things I am asking my team. And what I mean by both of those is don't limit your understanding of that. For most people, we will not learn either particularly how AI works or how to create a large language model. So I'm not asking everyone to suddenly become, a statistics guru, a linguistic modeler, or anything like that. But everyone should understand it in terms of how it affects them, their job, their people, and their people's jobs, and indeed their
Yeah,
life, and show that curiosity. There's some fantastic resources, audiobooks that are free, stuff on Spotify, where you can actually just show curiosity when you're out walking a dog. Anyone that says to me, I have no time to do this, I'm like, well, then don't be surprised when it comes and kicks you in the ass. The
yeah,
second thing
yeah,
is be practical. So try it. Think about what you do in your day job and think, how could I do that better with AI? That
yes.
question, just have that question with your knowledge, and it will change the way you frame AI from being something that's an invading force, because it's an inevitability now. The technology
It
is
is.
built. So it's about how do I become at one with it, and it helps me
Yeah,
amplify or improve the way I do things. Here's an example. This is about leadership. If you type into ChatGPT a context, a prompt, which is something like, I have hired a new team. There are many different personality types in that team, and I'm finding that it's not quite fusing. Share with me some practical examples where we could create more team structure. Now, typically we go and read a book about that, or we try some stuff out, or we go and get some external help from Esther or whatever else. But actually, ChatGPT will source all of this stuff, all of the articles and everything, and come back with some very practical steps. What if you've got a business problem? You can actually upload, I don't suggest doing this for commercial reasons yet, but if you've got an internal AI like a Copilot, upload your latest strategy and say, could you please critically evaluate this strategy and ask me your 10 most difficult questions in order?
yeah,
That curiosity and that
Absolutely.
practicality can really help you as the world becomes evolves with AI and as a tool.
Absolutely. And what I would say is be curious about what AI gives you as well. So don't just be curious by inviting it's you, but also be rigorous in how you evaluate what it's giving you, because it doesn't necessarily follow that they are the right answers.
Well,
And
if
therefore
you're
you
stupid
can
enough to believe everything that Stuart is saying or everything that Esther is saying, then woe betide you. It's exactly the same. You form opinions based on
exactly
lots of inputs. AI,
interrogate it
interrogate
and
it and
and learn from it.
triangulate it. Find out what other people think. Curiosity is
Exactly.
not one linear step. It's not,
No.
oh, I read a book. I was curious. I read a book. I now have the answer. It's like, you're
Yeah,
curious. I read a book. I know more about the
exactly.
topic, perhaps.
And what I would just go further to say is, you talked about be curious and be practical, but don't see it as the answer. It's got to fit and augment with what you've got going on in your organisation, what you've got going on in your team. I say to leaders now, everyone has AI, but only you have your team. So it's about how you bring the best out of the tools together and the people, what people are going to bring to it as well.
Yeah,
And it's like, don't
everyone's context
exactly.
is unique.
Yeah.
Now, there can be, it's surprising that in the alleged uniqueness, there are traits which are similar, and hence there is always through time been research, reading, science, philosophy, etc., that have led us to some levels of generalization. Do not take the generalization as gospel. AI is the same as reading certain books. They're not right
It
for your
is.
circumstance. So it's just about taking in the benefit of this,
Yeah.
almost
Accessing it.
librarian-like. It's accessing it,
Yeah.
but
Yeah, it's
then using it.
accessing it.
Yeah, but then using it in the context you find it. And the other thing is, if you become Mr. AI and you're all, or Mrs. AI or Ms. AI, whatever, you think you become somewhat omnipotent with it, just realize the distance you're driving between you and your team. So
Exactly.
go curious
Team
together.
members are going to be nervous about it because they're seeing the headlines saying, "Oh, we can shed all these jobs," and actually, it's about creating that environment where people feel that they can thrive with all the tools as well. I guess I would ask one final question, which is, what strategies have served you well as a leader in the way you lead others to help them manifest these curiosity and bring their best self, the things that we've been chatting about today, being authentic? Maybe have you got some tips?
Leadership is only about three things. So when you're a leader, you only should be doing three things. You find yourself doing more than three things, but you should only be
Okay.
doing, because they're unique to you. It is, while working with others, your job is to set the context. In other
Yeah.
words, why are we here? What are we going for? What does it look like, etc. Different levels of definition depending on the leadership job you're in and the role you're in. But ultimately, job number one is context setting. Some people call it strategy, some people call it a vision, some people call it purpose, some people call it the operating
Yeah.
plan. Doesn't matter. You're doing the context. Number two, capability. Your job is to build the organizational capability around you against that context. Hiring, training, developing, nurturing, creating well-being, all of those things are about the capability. It's about taking someone that someone else thought was not as good and turning them into someone that's contributing highly with their diverse perspective. There's lots and lots of different bits to capability, but that's job two, capability. Job three, motivation. Give me the reason to want to do it. And if you summarize all of those three, tell me what we're doing, get the team around you to do it, and make it worth their while. That's it. That's all leaders
That's
do.
it. Fantastic. Any final thoughts, Stuart, to the listeners? You said you're a man of action, so what would you like to see as a result of this, perhaps?
Be more curious. So yes, you're showing curiosity by listening to this. Please do not only listen to, go back and practice and
Be
do
curious.
stuff. Don't be academic or passive with your learnings and your development, and be open.
No.
Learn through doing,
Brilliant.
as well as learning through learning.
Brilliant. Well, thank you for making time to have the conversation with us today. Thoroughly enjoyed it. It has been very interesting, Stuart, and been brilliant to sort of spike curiosity as well in terms of all the different ways of looking at leadership, looking at bringing the best out of people. And so thank you for being a great guest, and we will see you very soon.
Thank you. Thanks for inviting me on.